This podcast is rated R for restricted. Under 17 requires accompanying parent or adult guardian.
Mission 250.
Welcome to the Mission 250 Filmcast, where we are watching every movie on the top 250 movies of all time list, according to IMDb. This week, we are watching the 1966 movie, The Battle of Algiers, directed by Gillo Pontecorvo. I am one of your hosts, Denny, and joining me are...
John?
And TC.
And to read a synopsis of this movie from IMDb, in the 1950s, fear and violence escalate as the people of Algiers fight for independence from the French government. This week, it is my turn to go first, and to start off, I want to make a statement that this is not a political podcast. And I, for one, I think it's going to be hard to talk about this movie and not get into politics a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I want to state from the top that I don't know what I'm talking about. So anything, regarding that should be taken with a grain of salt.
So you're saying if anything sounds political, we freely admit that A, it's wrong, and then B, we're sorry.
Yes, we're gonna.
Yes,
I'm gonna try to focus on the movie aspects of this, but it's a very political movie, so we might delve into that a little bit. But go to other podcasts to learn facts about that type of stuff if you want to. That's what I would say.
Yeah, but I don't think Again, we can talk about sport. You can't escape that with this movie.
You can't.
This movie, you can't.
That's why I'm afraid too, though, because I'm drowning in. I feel like this movie's above my head, pretty much.
Wow.
But in terms of the movie, it's starting off. I'd say the first half an hour of this movie, I was fairly bored. It shows its age. It looks kind of old, at least for the first half an hour. This is just for the beginning. The gun stuff didn't really impact me that much. The shooting seemed very fake. There was no blood. That the acting was a mixed bag. But as soon as, and I forget what the first bombing scene was, it might have been when the three women dressed up and then hid bombs and blew stuff up. It got pretty terrifying. It seemed, I don't know if it was because I got used to the way it was made, but it looked real almost. A lot of the stuff looked like it was real. That's the point, I guess, of the movie. They tried to make it look as real as possible, and they succeeded a lot. It was pretty terrifying. And by the end, it was not a pleasant movie to watch. I feel like it's a pretty important movie. And I'm glad I watched it, I guess. And I think it probably should be watched by a lot of people. And that's mine. Who wants to go next?
Well, I guess you had that one ready to go, huh?
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Well, I was interested right away just because I thought that they were up there and it starts with them. The man's being tortured. He gives away their position. This is the end of the movie and the beginning of the movie. You're gonna circle back around to this, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't really know that at the time until they cue you and say however many years ago it was after you see this scene. But them hiding there in their hideout there, I thought that was kind of striking. So I think that kind of hooked me in a little bit right from the beginning. I agree. I see your point about the gun violence seems not so real because there's just no blood or really even a much of a sense of violence to it. But once they get to the bombings, I think that's when it really shocks. That's when I was kind of shocked and pulled in even further. I think that this bombing scenes were really terrifying, and they really did an amazing job of that. Of what they wanted to do was show you just the natural scene, and just show you how the bombings unexpectedly just hitting. Right? You knew it was going to happen, but they still gave a good sense of you watching people having a good time or whatever, being social, and I think it did a rather terrifying job of giving you a sense of what that might have felt like, even though you knew it was coming. I think there's even one scene where they're all at the there's some kind of jukebox and they're all doing some kind of silly dancing and they hear a bomb and they go out to see it and then they're like, oh, okay, whatever, and then I guess whatever, and then they come back in and only to have another bomb explode where they are. I don't know. I thought that was pretty terrifying. And then they show, people trying to dig out the dead, and you see bodies of children and bodies of young men and women. And I think that was part of the really terrifying parts of the movie. So, and scary, and that's happened recently. It's in France that's been happening, and in places throughout the world there have been terrorist attacks kind of like this, where they're just trying to get casualties. The nightclub shooting in Orlando. So I think all of that feels, that makes this movie also feel very modern in a sense.
Extremely. I was very surprised at how relevant it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's all of that's terrifying. And it tries to be, the other part of the movie that's kind of amazing is it tries to be even-handed. I don't know how well it succeeds one way or the other, but you're seeing kind of both sides to some extent. I mean, you're seeing the general use and advocate torture, and that did happen and is true. And some argue that that's what
not torture,
caused France to...
enhanced interrogation.
Interrogation methods.
I've heard that before.
Interrogation methods.
Right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That was...
I mean, you even see how he's dancing around the word sort of a little bit, in the press conference. But yeah, using torture, and some people think that that's kind of started what started to help France lose some of its position, which might have led to them ultimately losing the country. But colonialization was just kind of across the board not working, too, whether it was France or Britain or what have you. It just these colonial empires were just losing control of their colonies, and so it's an interesting point to argue to what extent the rebellion, as it's portrayed in the film, is the point that violence led to their liberation or not. And I don't think they necessarily try to make the point clear. I think if you just sit with the movie, it's kind of implied that even though, after that ending scene, which again was horrific, they're sitting there knowing they're going to get blown up, and refusing to come out. And, one you have the terrorist guy, and then the other two people with him, you have, I don't know if they've committed acts of violence. The young man,
you have to
and his
assume
wife.
so, right?
I don't know. I sort of thought it was more poignant if they hadn't, and they were just people there, and a young man and a young woman caught up in this with him, but willing to still die with him.
Yeah.
So but the movie, I feel like the movie sort of lets you believe a little bit that their sacrifice led to the liberation of the country,
right?
Which again is historically very arguable. But anyway, again, it was a very riveting film to watch, and I thought also the general was quite charismatic. He was the only professional actor out of everybody.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
Apparently. And he was, it's not clear that there was historically accurate, but I thought it was very interesting how he was respectful of his enemies, even though he was fine with torturing and killing them. But face to face, he showed no hatred of them.
Yeah.
He showed no disgust or despising of them. His character was like, this is the job we have to do. And if you want us to stay here, this is how we have to do it. And all the while his character again had respect for the terrorists or for the FLA. So I thought
FLN.
that I thought was pretty FLN. Yeah, FLA.
FLN.
FLN. Damn it! I always have to get something wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway,
dude, that was
you
went on a long little rant there, and you screwed it up right at the end, John.
I
at the
wanted
end.
to end with the face plant. That's what I wanted to do.
So that's what I have to say.
And
Yeah.
so after that,
anyway.
TC. I mean, we got to get TC's thoughts on this.
Well, I mean, you guys pretty much wrapped it up. I mean, I don't have much other things to say than that. I mean, that's pretty much all I wrote down.
Did you share our thoughts
at times
on it?
it was, I thought it was time, kind of slow at times, but a lot of it had to do with some editing issues here and there. Who knows what they shot to and what they were left with. That time, I'm not very familiar with that time as far as like what their production was,
right?
And what they're left with.
Right, as the age of this movie it's really impressive, and I can't imagine what it was like. It's another one of those cases where I can't imagine what it was like to see this movie at the time it came out.
At the time, especially, I know. I mean, we think of these things as relevant, because we're just kind of used to them now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It probably wasn't spoken about a lot back then. this kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like coming over because
Or even if it was, you didn't have such clear. I don't know if movies depicted violence so well. This kind of violence.
yeah. Although I'm with Danny, the gunshots are horrible in every single scene.
That
they
didn't
were
work.
bad.
I agree with that too. I don't think-
Audio wasn't left with much too, right? I mean, it was really pretty blown out.
A lot of
throughout the
everything
time.
ADR'd because they dubbed
Yeah.
over all the actors because they weren't actors. So they like.
Yeah, right. Do you think they added in other noise, other people's voices?
So yeah, there were different voices then.
Because it seemed way off.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, like they didn't even use the original non-actors.
Correct. They use
voices.
actors' voices for all the voices.
Oh, gotcha.
Ah.
Now that makes sense, right? Inflections are different from someone who knows how to read a line.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that might explain why. You'd think that would
kind of disjointed.
make it feel disjointed because the expressions and whatnot aren't going to entirely match if an entirely different person is talking.
But I think some of the
sure.
some of
That's
the best parts sound wise of the movie is when like the crowd is going nuts, and that I would assume that would have to be taken from the crowd.
the riot type scenes were also terrifying and like along with the soundtrack, which went sort of like a horror kind of thing, with like more frightening kinds of music or drum beats that they did.
Those drum beats were awesome, right? Because it was like every time it was the perspective of the freedom fighter,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah. They switched
is what
like they
you heard
cut.
the drums.
It was
that
awesome.
was it. Because it was like it was like a rapid heartbeat or something that you were involved. Like it really enclosed you with them.
Yeah.
And the music would
Very
cut with
tense,
the
tense
shots.
movement.
Like it would pan, like it would go to like their site and it would be silent, and then it would go back to them, and you hear like it kind of sounded like horse hooves a little bit too, something like that.
Yeah, it was an interesting beat they had there. It was like percussive, but I don't know. It was a strange one. Did you guys ever feel like you were I find myself often not being on a side. Like I'd pick a side and then I'd be like, I don't know. These guys are kind of assholes.
Both
and then I'd switch
sides.
over to the other side. And then I'd be on that side and I'd be like, nah, I don't know though. The other guy's got something right, And I was like kind of jumping ship like throughout the whole thing.
Well, I think that's definitely what the movie wanted you to. It was trying carefully not to play one side over the other. I think.
I think they made it both out to be pretty bad, right? I mean,
Right, you're right.
they had
Yeah.
that one guy
But
that when
there
they
was like
captured
good and there was good there, right? There was like
was
good
there
involved.
Was
Like
there?
every- I think
well,
so.
Well,
Like-
you can start with the idea of like in Algeria, then like the French were oppressive to the Muslims. Like they were second class citizens at best. So they were basically an oppressed group of people, and they couldn't. Most of them couldn't vote. They were all kinds of things like that. So if you think about who started it, the French came and colonized them, and then treated a class, the non-whites more or less as lesser people. So you think about it that way as kind of like the position, the sort of like cementing the seeds of revolt, and then the question is like, what do they do? What options do they have? How do they draw attention to their cause? And I thought there were a number of great lines. There were like two which I thought were interesting.
Do you want to stay in France? That part. It's like you need to ask
Yeah,
yourself:
that
do you
one-
want to
that one
stay in
was good.
France?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
that was a good
And then if
question.
the answer is yes, then you need to deal
Yes,
with
then
all
we gotta-
of this
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
That was
I thought
heavy. That was
whole
heavy,
wasn't it? It was
the whole
extremely
press
heavy.
conference scene that whole press conference scene of him was great. I thought that was like really well done. And then,
However, once he was involved, then there was no more good. It's just all bad. 'Cause
Right.
It's just they're killing each other
Yeah.
now.
But they were killing each other before, weren't they?
Right, but at
sides.
least there was an intention of like one side was trying to do this, one side was trying to do that. Now they're just trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
who was the group that did the first bomb though?
French.
They did the bomb in the Casbah. Yeah, but who were they? They weren't the military.
Wasn't it? It was like
Who
the
were
local,
those guys?
the local
It was.
cops.
It was
the
the-
local cops.
It was
Was it
it was
the-
what's his name? The general.
No,
and
it
his
was the local
cronies.
cop guy who was like who before the French general came in, they like went to his office and he's like they're killing like 4.2 of us per day, and he's like we
Right.
need to like do something about it.
So
And
this
they-
was something the local police did then.
Yes.
They did the first bomb that resulted in a lot of civilian casualties.
in the Casbah.
Yeah.
Right. And that sort of in a way kicked off but I also liked the other
Oh, the captain. Yeah, it was the captain.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
Yes.
but the other quote there were two other quotes that I really thought were effective. I mean, the one is like where they're interviewing one of the leaders at the captured
Yes,
leaders
that's
of the press
probably the
conference,
best part, I think.
Which seems, I know, but it seems crazy that they would even let him be interviewed. I mean, why bother? Because he's coming off as articulate and thoughtful.
Well, that's what
and to be
I
able
think
to
that's
make
why
a
they pull
statement,
him
like-
off. Like the French colonel, he ends it early, and he's like, we need to end this
he's like-
before like it does the opposite effect of what I'm trying to do. you
Right.
know?
Right, but why would he even? I mean, I guess he was thinking this guy would come off worse
Right.
or something.
I
But for
think
him to
that's-
say like,
I think that's what it
yeah,
was.
right?
And he
'cause
was
they're
really
like,
well
you-
spoken, and he made a lot of
Yeah.
sense. And he's like,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah, they're like,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, oh no, yeah, that line that you probably were about to say, they're like, why you have bombs in baskets, and he's like, well, you give us some of your airplanes with
Yeah,
bombs, and
that was great.
we'll give you back the baskets.
Yeah, that was great.
Talk about being candid.
Yeah.
yeah.
It like the movie puts into perspective like the whole which side is better in war generally, and there's like there can't be a good side. I mean, it's not like people think they're evil, right? Ever, no one ever thinks they're on the
Right.
the evil side. Everyone,
It never starts out that way
Yeah.
until it gets out of control.
right?
Yeah.
And if somebody has murdered your wife, your children, or your people that you know, then what stops you from then
Nothing.
allowing yourself to do that?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Right.
if it's been done to you, and you feel oppressed and you have no other option,
That's fair game.
what do you do then? What do? You just say, well, that's my lot.
And you're like, oh, I'll forgive
And-
them. They just ruined my entire life.
They're good people. They didn't mean it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they just blew up my neighborhood. They just blew up my
bullshit on
neighborhood,
that.
the whole neighborhood. So now what?
Kill
You
them
know?
all. Kill them all.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, it's
And I
Yeah,
did
I
in
mean,
that
we-
way.
we-
It was way easier to side with the people that lived in the Algiers because the only reason
it's their home.
right? And like there was also a scene towards the end when they were kind of walking away, being like, "We've been here for 130 years and there's been no problems. I don't know why they're starting to fight now." And it's kind of like,
So this is
no,
just
you don't
Israel and
understand.
Palestine,
Like these
right?
people are fed up. You guys are okay. They're not okay. That's the whole thing. Like
Right.
it's just like the disconnect of the different cultures and.
Yeah, when they had that conversation, right? How are you going? Are you back? He's like, I got 2 more days or whatever. And they're just like talking about being on vacation, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, these other
Right.
people are like waiting in line to get through their checkpoint at their
right.
own home.
Yeah, they're. I mean, I thought those scenes of showing the checkpoints and stuff like that were also really well done and give you this feeling of oppression, and sort of what it's like.
And the thing is, too, like when they dress the women up, and I will say again, I think that the 3 women bombing scene is probably my favorite scene in the movie.
That I
Yeah.
agree, man. That sequence was riveting.
Was
I
heavy.
thought.
Yeah,
And the
right?
soundtrack was like so minimal.
Yes, yeah. You guys know who the composer was? We've had him before.
No.
Ennio.
Oh, really?
Ennio Morricone. He's the guy who did the Man with No Name trilogy.
Oh, interesting.
You know, the Clint Eastwood stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not a
Seems about
hey,
right.
ha, we ha to be found in this one.
Yeah. You could hear some
No
Fender.
chanting.
There was a Fender, a reverbed Fender in it.
Yeah, but I just no chanting.
yeah.
No chanting, that's true. But there were like, the drums and the
This guy maybe, I mean, is he like just the forefather of all of the modern horror type soundtrack? I mean,
Well, dude, not even though, because I heard like some Saving Private Ryan in there.
Yeah. There was
oh yeah,
You know, like
yeah,
when they were
true.
like,
I wrote down at one point
It's
there
like-
was a recorder, like the instrument you get when you're in 2nd grade. I was like, is he
Oh,
playing
really?
the recorder
That's the
right now?
recorder.
That's weird. Like it was pretty
How
various.
about you recognizing it?
I want to learn more about this guy's life. He seems really interesting.
Yeah, he's put his fingerprint on movie history pretty hard.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true that.
But what was I going to say? I was going to say the scene, even when like the 3 women are going through the checkpoints there, it's not. The movie seems racist. Like I mean, the movie doesn't seem racist. It makes the issue seem racist, but it's not racist. It's like a cultural thing. Like all the women have to do, they don't change their skin color. All they do is like they do their hair and dress like a certain way, and then they're fine.
Right.
It's more,
Right.
So I thought that was kind of cool too.
But,
'cause
but it's the very same. It ends up being the very same thing. It's how you look,
Right,
Right.
yes.
The bonus is that, or the not bonus, but the thing is that you, if you're willing to, you could change how you look. In this case, you can't change your skin color, but you could change how you dress. And even though that's for some cultures, it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. It had the same feeling again. That feeling of oppression, but also like. If you looked a certain way, well, and also if you were, these were soldiers, and if you were a pretty girl, and sort of dressed a little bit more like
yeah, like
in a
they're
relaxed fashion, then-
easily distracted.
yeah, or like happy to be nice to you and let you go and
Yeah,
chat
hey,
you
you
up
need
or
some
whatever.
company.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
honey,
And,
company.
I'm sure they had the.
Looking pretty good there, girl.
I'm from France,
Some
see?
company. Go to the beach, see? We'll go and have a relaxation day, see?
Hey, let me know when you guys are done with that.
I mean, it's kind of fun.
It's we need to lighten this up, dude. This movie is fucking heavy.
Oh, it's
Sorry.
movies. Yeah, it's tough.
is.
It's
You're
a
right.
heavy movie.
It's I think by far the most different of any. It's one of the most different movies I've ever seen. I think, mostly because by the end, like it was not an enjoyable movie. Like I felt terrible watching this movie, and it made me sad about the world that we live in like humanity and everything. Like it was super depressing. And I wasn't even hungover, It was like a dopamine way. It was just a sobering.
like a real deal.
It's normally
Yeah.
the prerequisite for not feeling good for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, of course.
I mean, if I'm like tearing up in a
There's an
movie,
easy-
probably
there's an easy
hungover,
answer.
But yeah, it's just I don't know. This one was rough, and I don't know. I don't know how to make this one lighthearted if we're gonna stay
it's
on
not.
topic.
There isn't a way to do it.
It's
'cause
not.
it's
I mean,
like,
what is? It's more about the craftsmanship of this, and just
Right.
admiring how well done it is, and how it doesn't. It's not like look at this, look at these poor people, or what It's not just leading you by the nose or anything like that. So and that's not. If you feel passionately about something, that's a very hard thing to not do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that just the even-handedness of it is what makes it so awful to watch.
Yeah.
Like that you sort of get a sense of at least you're not watching melodrama here or something like that, or you're not necessarily watching propaganda that's designed to make you feel a certain way. So then you could like either be annoyed or be rooting for it or whatever. But instead, it's neutral enough to make you feel like this is real.
Yeah.
And that's
It
that's
also
what
like
I
it
think
made it
is-
seem like if you're like it made it seem like if the only reason you're not blowing people up is because of your moral choices, if you can easily remove that morality within yourself through some type of group, like in this movie, then
or tragedy to yourself.
right, then
right?
killing a lot of people is really easy to do. And that was like the scariest part. Like you see like pretty much a linear progression of this guy making a shitty bomb, people putting it in a basket, putting on makeup, going into a place where they're trying to protect against it and killing a lot of people very easily.
Right.
And that just,
People that had nothing to do with this,
Right.
have nothing to do with their
right.
fight. But yeah, I mean, you see that. Yeah, the races. That was another one that was terrifying the way they did it.
yep, that one was one of the best bombing scenes. Like, I mean, in terms of
Well,
how
that one,
real
yeah,
it
we
looked.
had less. Yeah, all of it. I thought all of the bombing scenes were were a lot.
It's hard to say they're good. They were
disturbing.
fucking scary.
They were, but they were
realistic.
They were,
Good is not the right
Right.
word.
No, but
No.
they were well done.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the explosions with the black and white, especially, were like they used dust a lot,
Yeah.
and it totally helped sell it, right? Because it just like kind of clouded the whole frame.
Yeah.
You're like shit.
It looked like what do you call it? Just I don't know what you call it. Like someone accidentally caught it on camera, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
kind of
yeah.
a found footage sort of
Right.
thing, kind of,
Right.
but
And the whole like
but
they
They
had
had those,
not
the
nearly
angles
as
were
jerky,
above too, weren't they? The angles were all kind of set above, although it's not. I guess not on the horse race one, but
that one was kind of on
you're
the
right.
track.
That
on
give
that
it
one.
that. Yeah, it kind of gives you that feeling that you're like witnessing it from.
Right. And I mean, like, so the reason they picked black and white is because
CCTV.
that's how people got the news about this in black and white newspapers. And the whole
okay.
dating thing really added, I think, to the make
Right.
it looked like a fake documentary almost where,
Right. No, I agree. I think that it added that's the look they were going for.
Right.
Right.
How
They
about
wanted-
all the extras too? Made
Yeah.
it seem so real. I
How?
mean, Jesus Christ!
How do they do that?
There was so many people in all those shots. I mean, it seemed
Yeah,
like
I
real
have no
because
idea.
it's
I don't
full.
know if
They
you looked
filled-
into the details of the shooting or anything.
I
didn't
have.
find
They filled that
details.
city,
Oh,
man.
good. Well, it'll be good to hear about that because there wasn't a lot of details like easily available.
No, this
online,
one
but-
was tough. I actually had a hard time finding out about how true this was. I think as far as I
it
can tell,
wasn't
this was
easy.
like almost exactly accurate.
Well, I think with some of these things too, like if you were going over to like the Palestinian and Israel thing, like it's so crazy to see.
Oh, well, that one is so
any
volatile,
but
right,
any
yeah.
rendition of it, you're probably like sugarcoating it. You're not even doing it justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
though.
it's
I mean,
like
what's
anything they do
sugarcoating
is
about torture montage?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like they just do it. They like no matter what they're gonna put in. Like this is such a crazy topic
Yeah,
that it's gonna be fantastic
yeah.
to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know.
the nice thing about this is that not nice. I don't know.
Yeah,
But-
it's hard to
but-
use
but
positive
the-
words in this.
No,
Yeah,
it is,
right.
but we're the conflict is so old in the sense that we're sort of removed from it, so we also can sort of like feel like we're seeing it objectively. Like if this
maybe.
was like something that like if it was in the context of a modern conflict that's still going on, like say Israel or Palestine, or even like whatever's going on in Iraq or the Middle East, I think it would be harder to get to feel like that either the movie's removed from or objective, or that you as an audience member is objective or whatever. And so like that, because of how we're a little bit removed from it, it makes it all the more horrifying because you're just sort of watching it without, again, like having a horse in the race or anything. You're just seeing this and
Right.
thinking, oh my God, this is terrible. And then the other horrifying thing is like, well, that's probably a lot like some of these other things that are happening.
Yeah.
Right. The realization of it when you figure
Yeah.
it out.
And that's why I felt
Yeah.
bad, because reading about it, they're like, this is what's happening.
Now, yeah, you're like,
I don't
oh,
know about
God.
that, but holy
Ah,
shit.
Shut my eyes, shut my eyes, shut my ears.
Yeah.
No.
Please no. I mean,
Yeah, it's like-
it made me feel happy and also bad
That's
about
part
my
of it.
like living situation. You know, it's like, thank God I
Yeah.
don't live in a place where this is happening, but also this is happening and I'm
goddamn, we
not
live in a
doing anything
place.
about it. Like, I'm an asshole. I don't know what
Like I'm
what-
taking
what-
notes for a podcast
What are you
here,
to do?
folks.
You know,
Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like we're watching movies for fun, and then this movie is like, hey, people are going crazy, and you're like, oh, sorry,
right.
I apologize.
Sorry.
Whoops.
yeah.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy or Avengers, guys.
Yeah,
Which is better?
woo.
I mean, you have that's the bittersweet
Just
to this
sweet.
kind of movie,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Is that like
It did its
you're-
job.
you're-
It 100% did its
It's
job.
reminding you
Yeah.
and making you reflect, which is part of its
And
job.
I don't even feel like, we'll get to it, but like Saving Private Ryan, well, there are definitely horrifying scenes in that movie. It's like World War II, for example, and and this is not necessarily true, but there's the general feeling of like, well, that's a war that's won and over with.
Yeah.
And there were the bad guys, the Nazi, and there were us. We were the good guys, and we beat the bad guys, and it was
Hooray!
horrible, and horrible things happened.
It's a good point.
So it still doesn't feel as horrifying as this, where this is more like, nah, this is people.
This still goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and and that's
Yeah, there's no
that's what's really
glorifying to the
terrifying.
story at all. It was just
No, there's no heroism, and you just
And Ali, the main character. What did you guys think about Ali? Like, I don't think they tried to make him out to be a hero at all.
No, they made
No,
him as
they didn't.
he was
He's a
more
normal
of
guy.
kind of a
Kind of a
normal guy,
scummy
also
guy.
kind of a criminal,
Yeah.
kind of and just sort of recruited into this way of life.
Right. And they showed
he-
they started that off with the card game in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right? Like
he was
he's kind of
kind
swindling
of a,
people.
Yeah,
so he's
exactly.
like a street dog. He's he's rough.
Do you think him being tripped by the Frenchman made hit like that was the tipping point for him? He's like, I hate French people now. Time to start shooting French
I
cops.
thought
No,
it
I think
was the beheading. It was the beheading
Oh.
that they saw in the prison.
It was probably accumulation of everything.
But
too,
why?
on
So
top
that
of
beheading,
it.
I got a question about that. Like, what if that guy deserved it? We don't know what that guy's story was. Maybe he stabbed and killed a guard or something. Maybe he kind of deserved it. I don't know. That part was.
Yeah,
A lot of
we
this
don't
movie
know.
was kind of
Yeah, I
confusing,
don't know.
to be honest. Generally, throughout, I understood the sentiment, and whenever I got back to a main character, I understood it. But there was a lot that happened. Like, it was a pretty stuffed movie. And a lot of it, I was just like, all right, what am I supposed to be feeling here? These people are rioting. They're even like the whole strike thing. Like, I didn't really understand why.
I was going to ask you guys. I don't know. I don't quite get that part either.
Well, just from watching, what I understood from watching that was that they were they wanted the UN to intervene, right?
So they wanted to grab their attention
These are the
somehow.
freedom fighters that are striking on purpose.
No,
Yeah,
they
they
were
were
forced by the
striking,
French,
but-
right? Isn't that what
But
it
they were-
was?
No,
No,
they were
no,
they were
they-
striking. I thought they were striking to send it. The freedom fighters were striking to send a message to the UN, but also to stop the violence. So they were doing two things. They weren't going to do anything violent during the strike, and they weren't going to work. And they wanted to send a message to the UN that look, we need help.
But I thought
If
the
we can
French,
stop,
the
we can stop the violence
Yeah.
too by just
Right.
doing something else.
Right. So they wanted the UN to either, I don't know exactly what they wanted the UN to do, because the UN doesn't do a lot.
It was just
But-
confusing because the colonel there, when he was like, "Is it going to plan?" He's like, "Yeah, it's all going to plan."
Yeah,
It seemed
exactly.
like
No, that's what I think, because
I was confused.
I think the French planted someone to put that idea in there so they could use that as an excuse to set up checkpoints and start like getting individual people in the FLN and torturing them and getting information out of them.
So it was false flag.
Yeah, that
It was
whole
a false
thing
flag.
was very
It was false
confusing.
That part I don't know about that. I think it was a little confusing there. I thought at least, and again, it was a little confusing at that point. I thought what they were going to do is try to incite them back to violence or something like that. And that's not what was going on. They just used it as an excuse to raid and round up everybody,
Right.
Because they were striking.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem
This will teach
like
you to strike.
Yeah, so I
Dumbest line in the movie.
didn't quite get that. I sort of thought it was more about like they were starting to get, because of the violence there, was starting to get UN attention. This is a big deal. At least some of the rest of the world was like, hey, looking at this area of conflict and going, well, that's maybe we should at least talk about it. And that's what they wanted. That's what the freedom fighters wanted. They need, because how else are they going to succeed? They need some kind of help. They need some kind of outside pressure on France because they know they can't beat them themselves. So that part I sort of
that's
got,
it.
but the rest of it, I don't know. I didn't quite get how the general had sort of used that as a leverage to go and raid everybody and round them all up.
Operation Champagne.
Because I guess the news was
Can we
elsewhere.
talk about the name?
Champagne.
What did you guys think of the name?
Yeah,
Champagne.
I mean, it seemed like, it kind of reminded me of Mrs. Doubtfire. It's like, what's your name? And you're like, looking at the newspaper, and you're like, Doubt.
Yeah,
Fire.
Doubtfire.
Where's this Doubtfire?
Yeah, it was a pretty stupid name.
Yeah.
You have to admit.
And he's like, I like it. Champagne. You're like, all right, fine. Is that supposed to be a joke?
All right,
What's the point of that?
Yeah, right. That's what I thought. Maybe I was like, all right, maybe this is like a
Is this the
funny
one
thing.
part of the movie that's trying to be funny? Because it's not
Yeah,
working.
it wasn't.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't just put one
I
joke
don't
in the
think
middle
so.
of like mass slaughter in a movie.
Yeah, like death, death, death. Okay, maybe funny. Death, 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 death.
So I mean,
No, it
compared
doesn't work.
to the shooting, maybe shooting was hard back then because shooting has gotten pretty violent these days. And like comparing this to a movie that came out in a similar era, what was the first The Man with No Name movie? Fistful of Dollars.
Yep.
The shooting in that was also bad. But so if you were to guess, and you might have looked this up, what scene would be cut from this movie if there was to be a scene to be cut?
Oh, the torture. I think I already looked this
Yes.
up and knew about it.
It was
though,
a
but,
fucking torture montage. It's
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty
it was.
sure
like the one with the flame or whatever.
the
And
flame,
he's like-
the battery,
That was brutal.
the waterboarding,
the battery on the ears.
the battery in the ears, the hanging
that-
upside down. Like
So they wanted to get rid of it or what?
no, it's cut from a lot of versions of the movie.
Oh, is it? Well,
Yeah, the
I
movie
saw
wasn't
Yeah, I saw it
shown
too.
in France. And
I think-
the movie wasn't shown.
Sorry,
oh,
go
it.
ahead.
It
sorry,
was
go ahead.
banned in France. It was banned in
No.
France.
Yeah, banned in France for
you
5
go.
years, and then
Yep.
a lot of the cuts. I had the Criterion DVD, which had
Yep.
it's like the full movie. But I'm not sure when they put it back in. But even in the U.S., that scene was removed for a long period of time. In the UK and in the US and in France, it was removed.
Well, they didn't want to give them the blueprint for what they were doing for real.
And that's exactly what it is. I mean, the movie's a fucking blueprint. Like, I feel like it's terrifying because it teaches you how to do it on both sides almost.
This is how. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the.
And I kind of wish the movie
A to
didn't
Z.
exist because of that. Because
I
there
mean-
are known terrorists
He
that
kinda said
do
it, though,
watch
in
this
the
movie,
beginning.
and they say it's their favorite one. Like, this is their favorite
Yeah,
movie.
but the colonel said in the beginning, it was like they're using tactics from old revolutionary tactics.
But
So-
this makes it so easy
this
to
kinda
find.
sucks.
Like
yeah, but these people already knew this stuff. It's not like
Yeah,
they
they
I mean,
this might
is-
just be like more like a
This is a funny thing to watch now that they're
Yeah,
all
I don't think it's like
lawmakers,
yeah, it's not necessarily giving them details about how to do it, but it may be just sort of like
no, the whole
glamorizes
idea of what was the
their
quote?
life.
You have to start you start with terrorism and then you go from there. Like that's how you start a revolution. You're like,
Well,
fuck,
terror
dude.
starts off and then the people have to show up or something. I forget
Yeah.
what he said.
Well, but that was happening long before this. So
Right.
But it justifies
Yeah.
the
I don't-
terrorism. Like that sentence,
Well,
you
could argue the American Revolution started with that as well.
That's true.
It started with
It's-
terrorism.
I mean, that's
and
why
built
it's
up from
scary
there.
because it is true. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I don't. It's not
Denny's
a good
been
thing.
up late at night with this one, tearing his hair out.
Yeah, it was upsetting.
Yeah, this is us talking. talking over each other more than any other episode so far too. I think it's like it's challenging.
Yeah, it's
So I think the again, we're going to see some other. It'll be interesting when we see some other really dark films and just sort of the comparison.
like what else is darker than this?
Like Requiem for a Dream.
That one's.
I don't know. No, I'm saying that's what I'm saying.
Is dark though.
Yeah. No, I'm wondering if this is like a special kind of dark.
Yeah.
In that, and again, I think that where we live now, we're not threatened. We don't experience very much. In fact, like but
we do experience the fear.
Yeah,
well, the recent
movie brings the fear up.
Maybe, but and like the recent election outcomes were the first time I've ever felt like my livelihood might be threatened, or that my way of life might change in a drastic way. And I've never had to feel that before, in being like a white guy in upper middle class America. So I don't know. I mean, I think that experiencing that kind of fear, we see these other sorts of movies, whether it's a horror movie or even Requiem for a Dream, and that varies, like depending upon the experiences we've had with drugs. But we're like, well, that's not my life, right? That's not going to happen to me,
right?
Yeah,
that's not going to happen here. And with the terrorism thing, that's you could have, if you're living in Florida, you could have been around that Orlando nightclub or whatever. If you live in Paris, you could have been at that concert.
Yeah,
and it it starts to feel more real. But the terrifying part of it too is, in a way, also not vilifying the terrorists is frightening.
Yeah, I was more on the side with the natives, like the native Algerian people, than with the French. Like, get the fuck out of there, French people. Just get out of there.
Get out. Yeah, I agree.
That's another really terrifying aspect, though, to start thinking of that side of things.
And then you're like, oh man, because that means I could be on the other people's side too in my situation.
Yeah, I mean, both sides are going to die.
No, just refer back to the disclaimer at the beginning of the podcast, though, folks. So
yes, please, because if there are people out there smarter than us, they're going to think like these guys are idiots.
Smarter than me? Come on.
Yeah, I mean,
of course,
it's tough. I knew we were going to get into this type of. How can you not? But
what else would you talk about?
Yeah, this movie can't help that. And again, props to the movie for doing this, right? How could you?
Gets the conversation going.
You can't dismiss it.
Nope.
And that alone is brilliant. That is amazing. That you're going to watch this film and you're not going to dismiss it. You're not going to be like, oh, this is just a propaganda piece, or oh, this is fake, or and that just then is some really powerful filmmaking.
Yes, agreed. And this guy, Gillo Pontecorvo, didn't really do anything else that is as. I mean, this one is. I think it's on a bunch of lists of like the best movies ever made, not just the IMDb one. I watched like a bunch of interviews with him. He said no to hundreds of movie ideas. Like, he always asked himself a question: does this movie need to get made? Like, why should this movie be made? And he would always, most of the time, like 99% of the time, answer with, "It doesn't. I'm not going to make it." So he wasn't like a prolific director at all, which is kind of weird. Like the way this movie was made is as unique as the movie itself, I think. How it was kind of like a passion piece, and it was like a one and done type of deal. I don't know.
Like he didn't make other movies?
He made other movies, yes, but like not. You would think with a movie like this, it's also one of the only movies that got nominated for Oscars over multiple years, which I'm not even sure how that happens.
How does that happen?
I don't know. Maybe like releases or something. In 1967, it was nominated for Best Foreign Picture, and then in 1969, 2 years later, it was nominated for Best Director and Best Screenwriting, I think.
Damn.
So, I mean, that's kind of weird. And I was talking to a friend last night who had seen this movie, and he was shown it in grad school. Like, this movie was screened at the Pentagon. Terrorists say they watch it to learn things. Like, this is is a crazy movie, and it's
we
understandable.
watched it in school.
You did too.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, did you watch it film class?
Something. Yeah.
So my friend watched
I think
it.
We had like Citizens Kane, and then this, and a couple others.
So he didn't watch it in film class. He watched it in like a politics class or something like that.
Yeah,
Politics,
that's
which is crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's a
cool.
And it's actually slipping.
Hell of a film.
It's slipping from the top 250. So if you're like listening to this, give it a 10-star if you've seen it, because it deserves it. I think it deserves to be.
It deserves to stay in that list.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna start
Yeah.
getting heartbroken when certain movies are out of the
I
list.
think so.
Yeah.
This one, I think, yeah. I mean, this one is. I never heard of this movie before, and I feel like, I mean, TC had seen it. John, had you heard of this before?
No, I hadn't even heard of it. Again,
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
and
look
I
at
don't
me,
think
huh?
I
Yeah,
certainly.
look at you.
Hey, look
certainly
at me.
wouldn't have- yeah,
spending,
I certainly
spending
wouldn't have
thousands
seen
of
it.
dollars on school. I got one thing out of it. That's great.
So I got that going for you.
Yeah, I've seen it before. Ooh. Anyway,
But no,
sorry.
I would not have seen it, and I don't think I would have been motivated to see it. Again, if it wasn't for this podcast, I think it's maybe if I'd heard, that I know the Pentagon back in like 2003 or something had screened it
Yeah.
to sort of like try to help themselves understand something or other.
Isn't it crazy? This movie knows more than people that were working in our government. Like that's weird.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 40 years later.
Yeah. It says something though.
weird.
I mean, do you think so? People actually do use that pyramid scheme where 3 people. And I think
Makes
that's
sense.
the point of the movie
drug
is the French colonel is talking about how if you cut the head off the centipede or the tapeworm, whatever it was, if you cut the head off, then it stops. And I don't know how you guys felt about the ending. I felt like the ending was pretty abrupt. Like it came on really fast. Like before the ending, the movie kind of took its time, and then it did like in the last 10 minutes, it seemed to do like a 2 years later thing, and then 2 more years later thing where it talked about, just gave you like some notes on the screen about how they eventually won. It's like, well, we got to know all these characters. As soon as Ali died, it felt like the movie was kind of over, but it kept going
Kind of
in a weird
over,
way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
over.
But the scene also where everybody, like even in the movie, was like, for some reason, everybody rebelled this one day. Nobody knows why, and they won. And you're like, what? How? Is it because the centipede thing, it doesn't actually kill it when you cut the head off? Because there's still like a ton of people that are alive in the bottom part, and they're still in the organization? Is that what it was trying to get
maybe.
at?
No, I don't feel like it had to do with the organization at that point. It was more just the rising up of everybody at that point. If the movie had a bit of a message there, it was more that the things that the French did were remembered, and how they fought, how they destroyed the freedom fighters was remembered, and that was part of why eventually they rose up. But yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I think that also France may have been losing interest in keeping the country, and again, they were just trying to back out at that point anyway. Yeah, it's hard. That point felt it did. I think you could argue that it felt a little tacked on as far as the rest of the movie. Like it felt like the movie was definitely from the beginning building to go back to that scene where they're sitting there in their hideout. And I thought that was really.
It was very Gangs of Wasseypur.
Yeah.
That's true.
By that time when exactly. By that time when you get to that point, it's really. I thought it was really riveting to see them decide not to come out. I thought that was.
I thought so
again,
when they
really-
asked, like a heartbreaking part was, and really good acting, or I think it was good direction actually. It was when they cut back when they're like, you can let anyone else out. You have a kid in there, and it cuts back to inside, and you can see the kid shift, kind of like I want to leave, like I don't want to die,
Yeah.
but he stays
Right.
there, and you're like, oh fuck, he's gonna
Yeah, I know,
he's gonna
he does
die.
too. Ah, fuck.
Yeah, you're like, dude, let him out, let the kid out.
Yeah, they're stubborn. They're not gonna quit.
Yeah, it was rough. So the hand-to-hand stuff I thought was pretty good too. Like there was one scene where a bunch of little kids like kicked the shit out of a wino.
Oh, in the beginning,
That was
yeah.
very real looking. I don't know how they did
And
that.
there were so many kids. They were beating the hell
yeah,
out
and
of
he
them
slid
too.
like they pulled him face first down a set of cement stairs. How is that extra okay? Like that was some real
I don't know.
like stunt right there. Like that was intense.
Yeah, those goddamn kids, man.
Kids, they really didn't like winos.
Scary.
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
Little,
They're bomb.
even a little mob. You can't stop even like a tiny little mob.
No way.
Yeah.
Those Lord of the Flies.
There was the scene that I thought was. I'm just gonna go through my notes now, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, that's good.
There was the scene where there was the Arab guy sitting on the streets, and rumors of all like the rich people kind of up in the terraces where something
He had
happens.
killed somebody.
And he wasn't doing anything, but he was like an
No,
Arab.
he was just sitting there. He's about to eat a
yeah,
sandwich.
he was an Arab, and they started pointing fingers at him, and he starts running down the street, and everyone just gangs on. It's like a, it's like a finger pointing
Mob mentality.
right? Yeah, and he gets arrested, and you're like, what the hell? It
What
seems
the hell?
so
I
real.
know, that was brutal. It did.
I didn't like
Just
that.
screaming murderer, murderer, murderer.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
And he saw
this
it
poor
coming
guy.
too. Like he saw it
Yeah,
coming.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, where are you going, huh? Where are you going?
Yeah, why-
Oh,
yeah.
jeez.
He would have been screwed if he
and then
stayed
they
there
grabbed
too.
him too.
Yeah.
They grabbed him.
Arrested him. Who knows?
And
They probably tortured
did
him.
for his own protection at that point. They were ready to kill him themselves.
No, dude, the cops picked him up and they probably brought him in to get tortured, I would assume.
That's true. Good point.
So
Didn't think
that's
about that.
not, the guy was just eating his sandwich and now he's getting tortured. Didn't do anything.
Ah, he's out there enjoying a grinder.
It looked,
You know?
it looked like a good. What is that? An Italian? No.
Yeah, is it an Italian? You got a ham and brie over there? What do you guys got? Dude.
Oh God. I don't know. You guys, you have anything else to? I'm just gonna go through my
I'm
notes
looking
here.
at my notes.
Right,
don't think
I mean,
have
just looking
anything,
up
really.
mostly like if anybody does really want to learn what happened, you have to go to history books or history
Yes.
courses and things like that.
Because this one's
And-
not easy
and
and
it
quick
turn-
to look up at all.
No, and just skimming through this, so just as you guys are talking, it's really a complex series of events that happened after the sort of what the events that the movie covers, and it's a very complex series of events that happens that sort of leads to Algeria being independent. So it's complicated in its history and involves a lot of politics and things like that. So it's not really clear what the role of the freedom fighters was in the eventual independence. That doesn't argue it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway,
Framed to hanging in jail. What does that mean? I have a note that says framed.
well, that was historically accurate in one of the leaders of the FLN that they caught. They claimed that they hung himself in jail.
right.
that he
He's like,
was
yeah.
killed.
Okay, I remember this now. Yeah.
And that was based on
A real thing,
actual events
and,
that happened.
and
yeah.
how transparent. And yeah, I heard this too in the one of the making ofs. The way it seemed very like obvious that it was set up was how obvious it was in real life too. That it was a poorly done setup, and it was
Yeah.
quickly outed as like a murder, which sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I don't think I have. In terms of the movie, I have a note here that the character that plays Hefe, he was actually in the FLN.
Right, he actually
Oh,
wrote
wow.
the book
He wrote
that
right.
the movie was based on.
He wrote memoirs in
and,
prison.
and he was a senator in Algeria at the time and continues to be. I believe.
And the screenwriter and the director of this movie, they were planning on doing a movie about the war in Algeria, and they couldn't come up with anything good, and they shelved it. And then this guy saw in the newspaper that these people were trying to make a movie, and kind of gave his memoirs up as like hey, here's like a true thing. You should make a movie out of this. And so the screenwriter is dead by the time he died in '82, I think. The director is still alive. He's dead now, but he was alive like in the aughts to do interviews and stuff about this movie. And he was talking about how his memoirs were bad. He's like, you couldn't make a movie out of them, but then you got the screenwriter to movieitize or whatever you call it, the actual, his memoir. So, and everything I read, this movie is like very accurate. Like all the names are the same, except for the colonel. Colonel Matthew is Colonel somebody else, but all the Arabs, all the Arab rebels were named the same. So yeah, it's pretty. I'd say the most accurate of all the so-called factual movies we've seen.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of characters were sort of like amalgamations of real characters. It's not like there's a one-to-one sort of relationship between each of the main characters in the movie. But yeah, a lot of the events were portrayed sort of as is.
Yeah. I think Ali, though, he was a real guy. His name was mentioned a bunch. And they did blow his house up when he was hiding in the walls.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have for like the movie proper. I have some information on the making ofs, but do you guys have anything else to include?
Nah.
Not really.
That's okay. This one's short. It's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's extremely uncomfortable. So let's do the top 250 thing before I get into the thing. I think top 250. John, what do you think? Should it be in the top 250?
I think yes. For different movies, I mean, we up till now, I think we've put movies in there because of them being entertaining or well crafted. And this one, I think belongs in there because of its realism, of the way it shocks us and makes us think. So yeah.
TC, what do you think?
I say yes.
Yes.
I say yes.
And I say yes too. I think it should be higher. I think those listening should go. We're putting a lot of weight on the IMDb top 250. So realistically, even it doesn't really matter. But this movie, it made us watch it because it's on the IMDb top 250, and I think that it should be on a bunch of the lists. So it should be upvoted. It was pretty affecting. So.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Totally agreed. Well put.
I just have I have a very small amount of information here on the making of. It was independently made because the producers, the director knew wouldn't make a movie like this. Like the whole realism thing. It's like what kind of audience would you get with it? And he was kind of right. Like it wasn't a huge, it didn't take off or anything. It got nominated for Oscars.
Yeah.
And it's now like, highly regarded, but it wasn't a huge financial success. So they made it independently among people who believed in the movie itself, like the whole idea of the movie. So John said earlier that the director only cast one real actor. He was Colonel Matthew. And everyone else he picked based on their face. He cast like the parts depending on how their faces he thought should look for the part. And I'm not even sure what that means. So that's just
me either.
Yeah. So I mean, he didn't pick people based on their acting ability, even though no one was an actor. He picked them based on how their face looked for certain situations in the movie.
Wow.
So that's kind of unique, I think.
Yeah, that's just odd.
It is odd. It's a weird way to
That's
do it.
Very odd.
Yeah. And I'm not sure it was something that like other people should take and do because it wasn't one of the parts of the movie that stuck out. It was other stuff that did. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have. I kind of put the other stuff in the other parts.
Yeah. Cool.
So have a good Friday night, guys. Jesus.
Happy freaking New Year.
Happy New Year,
Happy New
Merry
Year.
freaking Christmas. God damn it.
Yeah. Damn it.
No, I
Woohoo.
think-
Happy holidays.
I don't know if you can take some that I don't know, as terrible and awful it is, that we can still, you can turn around and tell the story and try to be realistic, I think is an amazing thing. And we don't really get that kind of real insight very often in our movies. I don't know, comparatively. So it's really something to celebrate. It's hard to, like you said, it's hard to feel good about it, but I don't know. It's still also, it's an amazing thing. That this movie was made, that it was well received eventually, that people respect it, at least for what it is. I don't know. I think that's all kind of amazing stuff.
Agreed.
I don't know. I guess it's not like thumbs up. All right.
2 thumbs up, Siskel and Ebert. See it with your family.
Glad I watched it.
It's still pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
Opening Christmas Day, the Battle of Algiers.
Yeah. That's right.
Not quite.
No. It beat The Hobbit. So when I Googled this, the Battle of the Five Armies, The Hobbit. Oh, that's a more popular movie than this.
Right.
That's not cool. That's bad. All right. So the next movie is the only Stanley Kubrick movie I haven't seen, speaking personally.
Oh, sweet.
Barry Lyndon,
I don't know if I've seen that either.
1975. John, have you seen this movie?
No, I'm excited to see this. This is supposedly
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
his comparatively lighthearted film.
Is it? I hope. I mean, I don't know how it couldn't be. If we got darker than this, I'm not sure I could do it anymore.
Oh, I know. It's like no. That's why I said it. It's like I think this is a little, even it's you worry because it's like, and next we've got Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, lighthearted.
That's gonna be a
I think it's a long.
Be a real laugher.
I think it's a long one too.
I think I've also heard it's like supposedly
Which one of these aren't?
best
Yeah.
watched in 2 parts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like 2 real parts to it.
Really? That's interesting. That's nice for watching a long movie in intervals, I guess. 184 minutes. I hope you guys don't have any plans next week. Cool. Well, this was interesting.
Yeah. Good exercise.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't come off too morose. I mean, I do. I hope it does. Yeah, but
Get his threshold down at the bottom, and then we can only go up
yes.
from there.
Sweet. I mean, yeah, again, thanks for listening. Go to our. I'm gonna plug the freaking podcast
Let's now promote our silly little shit in the wake
I'm not
of
gonna
all
promote it
this.
this time. Just thank you for listening if you listened. And you should watch
Good
this
call.
movie if you haven't. It's definitely worth a watch.
Yep, it is.
And thank
All right,
you guys
guys.
for watching with me. Oh God!
Got it in there.
Yeah. Even the
boy.
dock worker doesn't really
My mark
seem
has been
enthusiastic, though. Yeah.
All right. See you guys next week.
All right, guys.
Take care, guys.